him of hiring a staffer largely to work on his lieutenant governor campaign. According to WisPolitics.com, the allegations include the staffer created and maintained a website for his campaign under the direction of the senator or his wife. Coggs, who is a Democrat, is also accused of misusing his Capitol office to support his wife's business and to handle personal matters.
WisPolitics.com. Here is the story. A former aide to Spencer Coggs has filed a complaint with the GAB, the Government Accountability Board, charging that the Democratic state senator hired a Capitol staffer largely to work on his lieutenant governor campaign and had other employees in his office attend to personal family matters, including helping his wife's business. Now, just to put this in perspective, we know last week, after a 2-year-long John Doe investigation, the Democratic DA of Milwaukee County, John Chisholm, came down with 4 felony counts against a former Scott Walker aide named Kelly Rindfleisch. Kelly Rindfleisch was accused of working on a campaign for lieutenant governor, not Scott Walker's campaign, a campaign for lieutenant governor while she was in the county exec's office. So here you have the story of a public employee working on a lieutenant governor campaign while on taxpayer money, facing 14 years in prison. Do I need to remind you how big the headlines were, how many prosecutorial resources were devoted to pursuing this story, how many follow-up stories there have been, etc. And many of you may have forgotten that Spencer Coggs ran also unsuccessfully in the Democratic primary for lieutenant governor. Jana Williams, who Coggs terminated last January, alleges in the complaint that Enos Ragland's, quote, support and interest in the senator's 2010 lieutenant governor campaign was evident from the time he was hired just months before Coggs announced in December 2009. Coggs, Democrat of Milwaukee, denied the allegations in an interview with WisPolitics.com, said he has not been contacted by the Government Accountability Board about the allegations. There are several things that need to be broken down here. There is an official complaint with the Government Accountability Board alleging the very same sorts of things that were the subject of the John Doe investigation in Milwaukee. There is no evidence that the Government Accountability Board, however, has lifted a finger on these allegations. So, you have an allegation about that Darlene Wink is posting comments on JS Online blogs. That triggers a 2-year-long John Doe investigation, which results in these criminal charges. Here you have a former aide to Spencer Coggs who says, you know what, Spencer was using aides here as well. I mean, I was there, and I'm willing to back it up that he had an aide who was working on his lieutenant governor campaign. Files the complaint with the Government Accountability Board, and apparently the Government Accountability Board itself did nothing, and as far as we know, did not refer these charges to prosecutors for an investigation. Now, and here's where I'm cynical. If it was an allegation against a Republican, any Republican elected official you can imagine, you fill in the name, and someone says, that, blank, Scott Warris, State Representative Scott Warris, Alberta Darling, Jim Ott, whatever, was doing this sort of thing, you don't think that would have been referred to Ismail Ozan, the Democratic District Attorney in Dane County, or John Chisholm, the Democratic District Attorney in Milwaukee County? You don't think there'd be something? You don't think somebody would follow this up? So, number one, here we have this story. Former aide says that a legislative staffer working on taxpayer time was working primarily on Coggs' failed lieutenant governor campaign. Sounds awfully familiar to the same sort of thing that resulted in the felony charges against a former Scott Walker aide, and yet, in contrast, no evidence of any investigation whatsoever. No subpoenas, no John Doe, no computers seized, no FBI raids on houses, none of those things. Now, wouldn't you think this would warrant at least a criminal investigation, at least as extensive as the one that resulted in the felony charges against former Walker aide Kelly Rindfleisch, or the media coverage that might point out that a prominent Democrat may have engaged in similar activities which are being treated as the next Watergate here in Wisconsin? But the evidence suggests no. Okay, so back to the WisPolitics story. This is online. This is out there. And by the way, you feel free. Those of you that, watch Channel 6 and Channel 4 and Channel 58 and whatever, Say, are you gonna follow the story? And if not, could you explain why? WestPolitics.com received a series of email exchanges between Jana Williams, who is the whistleblower in this case, and GAB legal counsel Mike Haas, as well as other records from an email address with the name Spencer Cheats. Williams said she did not send the records to WestPolitics.com, but she confirmed their authenticity. A spokesman for the GAB, Reed Magny, confirmed a complaint had been filed but declined further comment. The emails include a message Williams sent Haas laying out her claims. The crux of the allegations are that Ragland created and maintained a website for Coggs' lieutenant governor campaign under the direction of the senator or his wife. She also charged that Coggs misused his Capitol office to support his wife's business and to handle personal matters for his family. Among other things, Williams, the whistleblower, claims that Senator Spencer Coggs' staffers delivered documents to the Secretary of State's office on behalf of his wife's business and a request for proposal to a state agency. Coggs' wife, Gershia, runs a data processing company in Milwaukee. According to the Senate Chief Clerk's office, Ragland, who allegedly was the one who was doing many of these political activities, was a full-time employee in Coggs' office from April 16, 2009 until November 30, 2010, making $62,004 a year. Jana Williams, the whistleblower, said she first raised the allegations with the GAB in November 2010 after she was notified she would be fired. Okay, let's just stop right there. This is a formal complaint that has been around for more than a year. WisPolitics lays this case out in great detail. I think this raises all sorts of questions about the watchdogs, both the governmental watchdogs and the media watchdogs. And we're going to find out in a very short period of time how outrageous the double standards are in this community and in this media market. In a nation of laws, don't you think that if a Democrat, if a Republican does something and it's a felony, and a Democrat is accused of doing the same thing, that, I don't know, am I dumbing down the standard to say you at least investigate it? You at least look at it?